news happened over the weekend. Big news that a lot of people don't really understand why it's so important. Okay, but we'll tell you right here on this show the absolute truth. The Trump Treasury Department quietly announced sanctions on the Venezuelan cartel tied to Nicolas Maduro called Cartel del Sol, or Cartel of the Suns. The Treasury Department has issued a designation as a specially designated global terrorist for the group. Cartel del Sol is one of the most prolific transnational crime organizations in the world. Not only are they tied to money laundering, drug trafficking, human trafficking, but also election rigging. Cartel del Sol is a Venezuela-based criminal group headed by none other than the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, and other high-ranking individuals in the Maduro regime that provide material support to foreign terrorist groups. As the Treasury Department described in this release, Cartel del Sol is a Venezuela-based criminal group, as I said, headed by Maduro himself, that provides support to foreign terrorist organizations threatening the peace and security of the United States, namely Tren de Aragua and the Sinaloa cartel as well. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been a surprising strong voice in addressing the Venezuela problem and Cartel del Sol specifically. Rubio tweeted that Maduro is not the president of Venezuela and his regime is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of Cartel del Sol, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, says Rubio, and he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. If you've been following my super thread on X regarding stolen elections in Venezuela, then you know why this just happened. You're a leg up on everyone else. This is so much more than just drug trafficking. And it's another step in the right direction to revealing what really is happening in our elections right here in the United States. General Mike Flynn revealed an important piece of information that had not been made public just yet. I'm aware of a scathing report, he says, about the 2020 election that is due out any day now. Flynn flagged it for all the top people of the Trump administration, including the president himself and his chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Now, we at LindellTV have the story, and over the coming weeks, I will be telling that story exclusively right here on LindellTV, so you must stay tuned. At the conclusion of our reporting, there will be no doubt that all of the machines must go. At the start of the year, the Monroe County, Ohio Board of Elections announced the acquisition of new voting technology from Election Systems and Software, or ES&S. That's another voting machine company. The county announced that it was going to start using something called Express Vote XL machines. That's despite that in May of 2024 at a Monroe County Republican party meeting, 3 members shared how they or a spouse had noticed during the prior election that their ballots printed on an ES&S ballot marking device didn't actually reflect how they had voted. 3 out of 20, when you're really extrapolating that out to larger numbers, right? Let's say it's thousands. 3 out of 20 is a pretty significant percentage. And now, because of that, a petition is being circulated to put the issue of adopting the machines or not back on the county ballot. In Monroe County, only 100 qualified signatures are needed. And in the past few weeks, circulators have gathered nearly 200 signatures, with several weeks to go before the petition deadline. Carol Coleman has been an outspoken advocate since day one and is now leading the charge in helping to inform Monroe County voters about this important issue. And Carol joins us now. Carol, it's good to see you. It fits in kind of perfectly with what I'm talking about, though. I noted the sanctions against Nicolas Maduro, Cartel del Sol. Okay, and in the coming weeks, people will understand how this is all tied to all of the voting machines in the United States. It doesn't matter which company we're talking about, but when it comes to Monroe County, Ohio, we're talking specifically about ES&S. Carol, thank you for joining us, and just explain to our viewers what exactly is going on in your county.
So we have lots of stuff going on in our county right now, and what started all of this is, as you said, you know, we were in a meeting and found out that 3 of our members, their votes had been flipped through the ES&S machine. And then, as you know, we conversation continued, we thought, well, how many people out there are not looking at their printed ballots and even catching that this is happening? So that kind of steamrolled into us digging further and doing some public records requests and gaining some information on cost of the machines. And mind you, we are a very small county of about 13,000 people is what our population is. We have less than 9,200 actual registered voters in our county. And so the cost of the machines was just absolutely scary. It's horrifying. We've spent over $700,000 since 2019 on these machines. We have limited resources as far as where we live. You know, our county is actually operating in the red. We don't have the money coming in to support a lot of crucial things like our 911 systems and our sheriff's departments and things that are critical. But we choose to spend $700,000 on machines. So we have a lot going on. We decided to circulate a petition and let the voters decide whether or not they want to have these machines or go back to paper ballots. There's a lot of disinformation put out there from our board of directors or our board of elections. The director has given some information and put out information to the public that it would cost us $156,000 per election to go back to doing paper ballots. We wouldn't find out an outcome of an election for 9 days. Well, if that's the case, our last election, we spent $54,000. We had 826 voters come out. If we can't count 826 ballots in less than 9 days, we have major problems. So that's just a few of the things that we have going on here. I've been a major part in going out and getting signatures on the petition. I've received so much bipartisan support. The Democrats, the independents, the Republicans, everybody is on board. They can't understand why we're spending this kind of money on machines and, what are we doing? So I've received a lot of support from everybody.
I would imagine, because as you know, it's not a huge county, right? It doesn't warrant having machines that are very, very expensive when you can easily do paper ballots, count them in a short amount of time, have your accurate results and report them. It's a financial burden that is totally unnecessary. Besides getting into the inaccuracies, which you noted, if we're saying 3 and 20, Carol, that's a pretty significant percentage, and that's something we talked about when we were talking about the miscounting or the mistakes in Fulton County, Georgia. I don't know if you followed that very closely.
I did.
But, people would say, "Oh, well, it's only this many." But if you're talking about one county out of 159, and if this is the kind of percentage of discrepancies you have, then statewide, when you extrapolate that could swing a race, right?
Absolutely. And what people need to understand is, it can swing a race in anybody's favor, the Democrats' favor, the Republicans' favor. So everybody should really be on board with, straightening this out, cleaning this mess up, because our election system countrywide is just a mess. I mean, it is a complete mess. It's an epic failure. We had actually reached out to CCVO, which is the Coalition of Concerned Voters of Ohio, and we gave them some information after our director had stated, the cost and how long it would take for us to complete a final count if we went back to hand ballots. And they did an analysis for us. We could actually save our county hundreds of thousands of dollars. We could do an election hand count for less than $10,000, and we would definitely be done in a day.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. So there's a petition that's gone out, right? You've already got quite a number of signatures. How feasible do you think it is? I think we need to get rid of the machines countrywide. I think that Trump has the justification to do some kind of executive order that would make, because of the foreign parts that are in all of these machines, right? That's a national security risk. So he's justified to say, hey, you can't use any voting machine with foreign parts, and that would take care of all of them. But at least there are options at the local level, and you all are taking action with this petition. How feasible is it that you think that you could actually get this this put back to be considered by the public in your county, and go back to paper ballots, get rid of these machines?
If we get it on the ballot, there's no doubt in my mind that we will win. People are, like I said, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, everybody is in support of going back to paper ballots. You know, Emerald, I remember several years ago when we were doing paper ballots, there was no machines in sight. You know, it was fun. Elections were a lot of fun. We would go down to our little precinct. There'd be people gathered there in the morning, you know, listening to the bell ring, hear ye, the polls are now open. We would go to, once the votes were counted on our doors of our precincts, they would have all of the numbers posted. You'd know by 9 o'clock at night exactly who won your township, whether it be township trustee. And it was like a community gathering. Well, with the machines, we've gone from 28 precincts open down to 8 precincts, which everybody wants to talk about. The Republicans disenfranchised voters. The machines have disenfranchised because now, you know, they've taken away our precincts. Our elderly people are having to drive 30, 40 minutes to get to a location just to cast their ballot. And it's wrong. And so, you know, the machines have really stolen a lot away from our community, just even on a fun level, you know, just what it used to be. It's not that anymore.
That's true. I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it, right? The citizen participation that helps build pride in your country in the process and our constitutional republic. That conversation's actually been left out of it because we've been so concerned about the technical aspects and the vulnerabilities presented by these machines. But I didn't even think about the culture. This is kind of a culture issue, right, as well.
It is. It really, truly is. I mean, and like I said, it was just like a little gathering at the poll place or your precinct, and everybody was there. The whole community would come out. You'd have, you know, 100 people standing there just to see, oh, who got it, trying to get to the door to look. You know, it's really changed a lot. It's taken a lot of, you know, culture away.
Oh, that's sad. I like that conversation. We should actually have more of that conversation too, because sometimes people aren't really moved, I guess, by the technicalities, right? But when you talk about culture, that gets into emotion and pride and nostalgia. And I think a lot of people are feeling nostalgic about the time past and where we were as a country. So perhaps we can appeal to some of the people who haven't quite gotten on board with us because of the vulnerabilities and the security threats, to just appeal to them out of nostalgia and emotion. Carol, we'll watch this very closely. It's one county, but it can be such a good example for all the other counties across the country as we try so desperately to secure our elections, particularly before these very, very important midterms coming up in 2026. I know some people don't look at Ohio because they think, oh, well, Ohio's red, it's safe. But Ohio is actually one of those states that's had a lot of problems historically, just hasn't gotten a lot of attention, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you get to some of these bigger counties and they're not as red as you think they are. You know, they're really not. And it gets a little scary. And then when you have machines that can be switching votes and, you know, turning the tables, it doesn't take much at all for elections to be swayed the wrong way, for bad things to happen.
Certainly doesn't. I don't know if you know this, Carol, but we love to talk at the ground level, right? We like to talk to people like yourself who's trying to affect change all across the country. So we appreciate you joining us. I applaud you for your effort. And this is something we want to follow very closely because, like I said, it's a great example. We're hoping that President Trump will issue some kind of national emergency, which we talked to his friend and attorney, Peter Tickton, about last week. But everyone should be doing their part everywhere in order to secure our elections. And we applaud you and your colleagues' efforts. And it's just so concerning, especially I know people say 3 out of 20. Okay, let's think bigger picture. That was actually a huge finding, Carol. And just think of all the people that didn't even bother to look, right? They just went on. So that's just the people that bothered to look that we know about. Carol, thank you so much. I hope you'll join us when there's an update. Keep us posted, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Up next, if you'll remember last week, we told you about a major announcement, public statement from the Florida Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo. We revisit that with our friend, Dr. Joseph Sansone, who's been pushing Florida to label the shots as bioweapons. How does he feel about what Ladapo said last week? He'll tell us after the break.
With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com.
Very fortunately, very few people, very few children, and very few adults are putting these mRNA COVID-19 vaccines in their bodies. We still have older people doing it, but fewer people who are older are doing it also. And they shouldn't be doing it because they are not fit for human use. When was the last time that you had a vaccine that literally almost every single person knows someone who's had a bad reaction?
Swollen
Okay,
limbs,
something
joint
else.
pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer.
That was Florida Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo making a key announcement in the ongoing fight against the clot shots. The Sunshine State, under Governor Ron DeSantis' stellar leadership, continues being at the forefront of the fight for our God-given freedoms. In this case, getting mRNA products off the shelves in Florida. And just as a reminder, Here's a 40-second little taste of why the Florida Surgeon General has been so committed to removing mRNA from Florida's shelves.
The Fifth Column recently published their findings and conclusions on the strange self-assembling nanotech they discovered in the Pfizer mRNA vaccines via optical microscopy analysis. The objects they found in the vaccine correspond with known items in the scientific record, and the conclusion they come to seems quite clear, that the well-documented scientific goal to use nanotechnology in living human beings to form networks capable of controlling several nanomachines is currently being deployed in the COVID-19 vaccines.
Joining us now is Dr. Joseph Sansone, author of Mind Matters and Everything Else Substack. He's been intimately involved with getting the mRNA off the Sunshine State shelves, as well as fighting to get the COVID-19 vaccines labeled as a bioweapon, which is, I think, just obvious now. Dr. Sansone, it's good to see you. I mean, this is a more positive development, I would say, since we last spoke. I know Latipo has been a little more outspoken. What do you make of his latest statements, and how are you feeling about it? All right, looks like we're having another technical difficulty here. Stand by.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
You cannot. You
Go
can
ahead.
hear me. Okay.
I can hear you now. So what are your thoughts on Latipo's statement?
Absolutely. Thanks, Emerald. So I liked it so much that I used his study from his recent study that he was a co-author on that said that the Pfizer shots had a 36% increase in all-cause mortality over the over the Moderna shots, which basically equates to an additional 470,000 deaths. So I filed that as a supplemental authority in my case against Governor DeSantis and Attorney General James Uthmeyer to get the shots off the market. And so I liked it. I liked it that much. And so, yeah, I'm poking the bear a little bit there. It's a persuasive authority because it's not case law, but I think it's important because that's the Surgeon General of the state of Florida as a co-author of that study. There's another some research that came out of Japan that I'm sure you're familiar with, led by Professor. I'm going to screw that up more. Anyway, Professor Emeritus out of Japan led this study. What they had is they had 300 volunteers go all across Japan and looked up 20 million vaccinated people, and they found an additional over 600,000 deaths among the people that got the COVID shot. So if you were to look at it population-wise, that would be an underreporting factor of 41 on VAERS data, which means the 38,000 people that are shown dead on VAERS data would equate to about 1,580,000 people. And keep in mind, the VAERS data is just people that died shortly after the injections came on the market. It's not the people they're getting sick and dying of cancer, colon cancer, Parkinson's, heart attacks, strokes, and so on. So yeah, these injections are biological and technological weapons of mass destruction. They need to come off the market immediately. I cannot explain why the state of Florida or the United States government refuses to stop this biological warfare campaign against Americans. I can only come up with nefarious explanations. I can't give any reasonable explanation why these injections, these mRNA nanoparticle injections, are still on the market. It makes absolutely no sense unless it's part of a broader depopulation campaign.
So we've talked pretty extensively about that Japanese study that is ongoing, actually, that you mentioned. The Japanese journalist Masako Granaha, who is just an excellent journalist, has been reporting on it extensively. She's been on the show a couple times. She's working, with the team as she's kind of the person reporting the most about what they're doing. And they have been desperately trying to get this data to other countries, right? They want to share, they want to collaborate, say with Trump's HHS, with Bobby Kennedy, with Marty Makary, and tell what they found in Japan and say, here's what you can do in the United States, and let's collaborate on our data. I can tell you what I've heard behind the scenes. There are definitely different factions still, right? There's the FDA regulators who are still very pro-jab, and I feel like based on what I've heard from the inner workings and conversations with sources on the inside, there's a hesitancy to push too hard too soon, though. You and I just look at the black and white of it, right? People are going to continue to die every day. There are still children to be injected every day. We're going to talk about this, though. I think it's good that the show worked out this way, because Charlene Bollinger is going to talk with us a little bit after the fact on how she sees HHS working. I know that they're trying to pick their battles. I guess is how you put it, right? You pick your battles and you're trying to get certain things done. But at the end of the day, there are people still dying and the shots are still being given to people. Florida, you've filed this lawsuit, right? You've tried to get the governor to acknowledge, based on existing law, that these are bioweapons, which would restrict their use, at least in your state, right? What's the latest with your lawsuit?
Well, right now I'm in the appellate court, and I just filed that. I'm waiting for a decision from the appellate court. I just filed that Dr. Ladapo's research as a supplemental authority, and so it's taken longer than I thought, which could mean they haven't looked at it yet, or it could mean they're writing a decision. So I'm waiting to hear from the appellate court, and I still have my bill out there too, which you can download from my Substack, which is, I have a version for all 50 states that recognizes that these are already illegal. Emerald, I can't give cover for HHS. I can't give cover for President Trump. He doesn't hesitate to do executive orders. These violate 18 U.S.C. 175, Chapter 10, biological weapons. I have an affidavit from the law professor that wrote the law. President Trump can issue an executive order immediately and get on the right side of history. These people need to really be concerned about being prosecuted in the future, because they're not going to be able to hide this. They think they're going to be able to do a hit and run, move it along in people's memory. But the problem is people that continue to get sick and die from these injections, and so do I, and so does everybody else.
RFK Jr. is actually facing now his own organization, Children's Health Defense, suing him. This is in a different case, but CHD continues to be very active on the litigation front, trying to enact accountability for jabs. And there's one related to Bill Gates. There's a new story out related to CHD's having 3 new plaintiffs being added to its case against Bill Gates. What I find is interesting is I do feel like Bill Gates is coming more into focus again. I've seen more chatter just generally, maybe this is anecdotally, but this is just me noticing on socials and out there, even in the news sphere, that Bill Gates and his connection with vaccines in general is a topic that seems to be reemerging. Why is that?
Well, as you know, I'm a potential witness on that case, so I can't speak specifically to that case. But I think because Gates has been involved in anything from dimming our sun to these poisonous injections, and look at it like this. They have a negative effectiveness, meaning you're more likely to get sick and get COVID if you get the shots. They cause harm, including death, and they've known about it for a long time, and they're still running ads saying these things are safe and effective. So I think that Gates is almost a caricature of a supervillain at this point. And these aren't even it's becoming more mainstream, the recognition that they're spraying our skies, for instance. This is something where 10 years ago we talk about it and people think you're crazy, but now people recognize it and they've admitted it, they're doing it. So I don't know how these people think they're going to get away with this. They're trying to push through this technocracy, and I think they're just trying to marginalize us to the point where we have, and this deals with the election integrity too, marginalize us to the point where we have no recourse. I don't think it's going to work. I just think it's going to hit a boiling point, and it's going to look very ugly for them when they try to cover their tracks. And my message to the Trump administration is you need to get on the right side of history, because people who do nothing now that are in a power to do something will be prosecuted in the future.
We will see. We're still waiting for arrest from Russiagate, though at least they are declassifying the documents now. And I know some people like Mark Elias are getting nervous when we're talking about election fraud, election rigging, and then the Russiagate hoax. So, we will see. There's lots of low-hanging fruit where the arrest could be made now, and yet none have as of yet.
Nothing.
As of yet, I will give that caveat. Thank you so much, Dr. Sands. Yeah, don't hold it too long. I'll talk to you. We'll talk to you again soon, Dr. Sandstone. Thanks for jumping in with us for these 8 updates from the great state of Florida. Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you.
We'll get the other side of this coin. Charlene Bollinger joins us next with some inside perspective onto what's happening at Bobby Kennedy's HHS. That's after the break, so stay tuned.
Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer. Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. That guy's amazing and he's staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a very special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Lindell. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Lindell. You won't believe how simple it is. The last
This is Dr. Vinay Prasad. He's the FDA's Chief Scientific and Medical Officer, and he's currently under significant attack from Laura Loomer and the Wall Street Journal, which has described Prasad as a Bernie Sanders acolyte in Maha drag. Colorful description, if not exactly accurate. And while it's true that Dr. Prasad is a fire-breathing leftist, we won't deny that. He's more of the old school left-winger, right? Who is naturally suspicious of all forms of authority and rightly resists the whimsical, often unwarranted edicts and proclamations of our supposed elites. As this New York Times article from the opening days of the second Trump term shows us, the globalist, MAGA, and Maha-hating left set their collective hair on fire over the fact that Dr. Prasad stopped the FDA from approving the COVID-19 clot shots for Americans of all ages. So in other words, Dr. Prasad, a Bernie Sanders loving leftist, might have done more to protect Americans from the COVID-19 bioweapon jabs than anyone else in the entire first Trump term ever did to stop the clot shots. In fact, if you'll remember, Trump's first term team engineered and approved the clot shots during Operation Warp Speed. Charlene Bollinger is the co-author of the book, The Truth About Cancer. And she joins us now to give us some inside perspective on what's going on in the Health and Human Services Department. It's good to see you, Charlene.
Great to be back. Great to be back. Love hearing your show.
So here's some context. And, I was one of those people that was like, they approved that Moderna vax instead for kids, 6 months to 12. And then, I started talking to some people and they said, look, this is what they were actually going for, that the regulators wanted to push, you just give blanket approval to all the shots, right? All across the board, which would have been very problematic. And this is a case, I guess, of picking your battles and trying to be strategic is how it's being described to me. Now, I'm sure you've heard the same arguments I've heard, and I'm sure more, actually. So tell us where we're at this point. And they're attacking, a lot of, in MAGA world are actually attacking Vinay Prasad. But when I heard some interesting actions he had taken, I was a little more sympathetic. Your thoughts?
Yes, great sum, and I can add to it. Bobby, his intention is to save the children and to take the capture out of these agencies, which is exactly what he's doing, very thoughtfully, systematically, carefully. Because think about it, Emerald, if he were to just cut it all off today, everybody says, get it out of the schedule, outlaw it right now, do it all right now. Well, it doesn't work that way. It's like going outside and, cutting down some of your plants, but you leave the roots and part of the plants and the thing grows back bigger and stronger than ever. If this isn't done right, we will not win. And so he's in there doing the right thing. He's saying all the right things, and he means it from his heart because I know him. We've worked with him for the last at least decade. We've been doing this for decades, as you know. And if you just listen to him, he's telling the Americans and the world about the corruption and about the dangers of these shots. He would never allow them to be mandated. He has said how dangerous the shot is. It's more dangerous than helpful to healthy people. And this may be something, Emerald, that you don't know. Bobby went on vacation. And while he was on vacation, the FDA approved what you just said, the COVID shot for 6 months to 12 years, I believe, and I'll have to confirm this, it was for, kids and pregnant women that were not well, that really could benefit from it. That happened while Bobby was on vacation. And he came back, and we have a Substack that touches this slightly, and fired his chief of staff and deputy chief of staff. People don't understand really what's going on or why, but Bobby is here to do the right thing. He's doing the right thing. He will continue to do the right thing. He's playing 5D chess. And I know that sounds old and, everybody's saying that, but not everybody's really doing that. Bobby is. I've talked to him and, we've been friends for years. I understand and know how he looks at the vaccines, which is very similar to the way that we do. And so people in our movement, the health freedom movement, influencers, world of mega, they are just jumping on the bandwagon to accuse Bobby of wrongdoing. But if you look at the history, Emerald, behind the man, he has been fighting for the children for so many decades. He has risked his relationships with his family, with his friends, and with his colleagues. The Democratic Party dumped him because he started talking publicly about all of these things, but he's not stopped. He's not gone to the right or to the left. And Bobby's very likable, so he brings in Democrats that are in line with us on these issues. And, people are quick to say, oh, Democrat, bad, Republican, good. There are some Republicans that are pushing all of the big pharma agenda and Democrats who are pushing health and safety for the children. So like you did so smartly, looking at the track record and what these people are actually doing, that's what Bobby's doing. That's what we need to do. And Bobby's bringing in the right people. And check it for a year from now and see what Bobby has accomplished with his team that he's still bringing in. He needs his generals. He's still trying to get his generals in. And so good things are happening. behind the scenes, Bobby is not an uneducated, ignorant man. He knows exactly what he's doing, and every step he takes is with thought, prayerfully, great precision to get the job done. He's not going to fast track this agenda into it being nuked and removed and business as usual. Every step he's taking, we are winning. And so that's what we need to look at, the long-term play here. Bobby is doing the right thing. We stand behind him. And people need to look at the entire picture instead of the moment and the hysteria that the fake news apparatus pushes at us, because they are funded by Big Pharma. And Big Pharma does not like Bobby. It's almost like a miracle that Bobby is in this position.
It's not just some Republicans pushing the Big Pharma line. Let's be honest. If we're looking at Congress, it's probably the majority, because the majority receives money from Big Pharma. And I personally know how strong that lobby is in that town. They come find you as soon as you get assigned to Congress or the White House beat. They come wanting to wine and dine you. I know it well. But I do want to get back. We will check in with Bobby in a year. I mean, we check in every week, right? What have they done? So we will go back the year past. I do want to hone in on this when he was gone on vacation, because that is what I had heard, right? We were asking, why is this happening now? And he's on vacation. And it sounded to me that this was done without his total oversight or his perhaps blessing. Is that indeed the case? I mean, we had reported that on the show, that it happened on vacation. It doesn't seem like it's with his blessing. Did they try to pull a fast one while he was gone, Charlene?
Well, look at what he did when he came back. He fired the chief of staff and the deputy chief of staff. Those are the people making the decisions. And to me, it seems it was strategic on their part. And that was not what I believe Bobby would have done had he been there. He would have heard the conversation. He may have stopped it. But yeah, that was wrong. And that's why Bobby fired those two people. They needed to go. I'm glad they're gone. They weren't there for the same reason that Bobby is. And we need people in there that really care about the Americans' health and not Big Pharma's wealth. And I do believe they were two gatekeepers, and I'm glad that they're gone.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's still been a problem getting his people hired. There's been, like one is all I can think of in the last few months that it's been brought in that is a true RFK ally into HHS. I mean, generally there's kind of a hiring freeze across the government, even political appointees, right? Definitely civil servants, to hiring freeze. But that has been a little bit problematic, I think, for Bobby. I do want to talk about some of those people under him. He fired the two as a result, as you pointed, it seems, or is at least seemingly related to this approval. Now, I have heard from inside sources that that FDA Administrator Dr. Marty Makary does want to authorize COVID vax for kids. And in personal statements that he's made, he believes they're vulnerable and that they should get the jab. So what do you make of that if that's Bobby's FDA administrator? Or is that wrong reporting? I mean, I've heard it from very strong sources.
Right. Well, I can't make a statement one way or the other because I'm not totally certain about where he actually stands, where he lands on the issue. But I know that Bobby is strategically bringing in specific people that will back him on these choices that he's making that are for the kids. And so that is yet to be seen. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and see what happens. Now, if they push the shot and approval of the shot, we're going to have a problem. I'm a little bit suspect of the timing of the push on the mRNA shot for kids. So I don't know what to say there. He doesn't have my trust. That man right there on the screen does not have my trust.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you and your husband focus so strongly on cancer cures, right? The natural cancer cure, other options, and what we've seen from these mRNA jabs is just no one can deny it now. I mean, even in the blue area that I'm in, Charlene, they see the explosion of cancer everywhere, and they know that it only happened after the jabs, right? So there's been a real revelation moment for everyone, I think, specifically centered around the cancer crisis, right?
Yeah, turbo cancers are a real thing. And, You know, the
Yeah.
censorship has been so immense around the turbo cancers being caused by the shot and all of the heart issues, myocarditis, pericarditis. We have the healing protocol on our Substack. I encourage everyone to go to the Truth About Cancer Substack. Look for the mRNA neutralizing protocol because you can even turn around myocarditis. It's amazing what the body can do if you give it the right thing to heal. It was created by God to heal. But yes, the turbo cancers, these are things we've never seen before. And people are getting cancer, aggressive cancers, and dying quickly. You've got young children that haven't lived 50 years steeped in these toxins. They're healthy, and all of a sudden there's cancer, and it's growing so fast. And by the time they're diagnosed, within weeks, in some cases, they're gone. We've helped some of these people. We've seen with the right protocols, them be able to even reverse these things. So that as long as there's breath, there's hope. We want to encourage everyone that there is so much you can do to turn around the toxins that are causing this from the shot. First of all, stop getting the shots. Secondly, you've got to detox that shot out of your body. And it's possible. It's more than possible. We know people that have done it. But this shot is an abomination. It should be pulled. And we're praying that Bobby is able to get his team in, the real team, his generals, so that together they can do the right thing. And nothing is impossible with God. So I encourage everyone watching this to keep watching, keep praying, let your voice be heard. Share this show with everybody that you know, because not everybody understands what's really happening. And that's how we win. This is why we were censored. And by the way, Emerald, I didn't mention this in the notes to Dawn. Hello, Dawn. But I want you to know that we have 2 lawsuits. I think you know that. One with Bobby. Yeah. Bobby bounced out of it when he went to run for president.
Right.
Antitrust against Legacy Media for censoring us. But we also have another one here in Tennessee, just Ty and Charlene versus the Censorship Industrial Complex. It's over 300 pages, our complaint. It really lays out who did what, and the government and social media. And our judge, this is a first. I haven't said this publicly. I've been advised to wait and to see what the social media companies do. But the social media companies are in the lawsuit as defendants. We've got Twitter, now X, Google, YouTube, all of their subsidiaries. We've got Meta, Instagram, and Facebook in this lawsuit. We've got the DOD, the DOJ, government agencies that did this, and they're now admitting to doing this. The DOJ just vindicated us, by the way, in the antitrust. They named us specifically, our lawsuit, and said we were wronged and we are right to go after them. The ball is rolling in the right direction. Here's the win. Are you ready for this? This is so spectacular. So the social media companies for our case wanted to move, of course, from Tennessee back to California because California judges and the court system, they're bought and paid for by social media. Guess what our judge said? This is a first. They said no. They said no.
Yay!
It stays. This is such a big win. And that day, Emerald, my phone, this phone right here, I have been by Facebook and Meta not able to do Facebook Lives for 5 years. They wouldn't let me into the app. The day that judge ruled, which was days after the DOJ said we were right, Facebook gave me back my ability to get into the app.
When was this?
This just happened. I'll send a screenshot to Dawn, so you'll have that screenshot of
That's
the
our
judges.
fabulous producer, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah. But I haven't really mentioned, but I thought I would mention it with you.
It's so wild that you say that, okay? I did not know this had happened until you said this on the show. Over the last 2 days, I've been wondering what's been going on with my Meta, like specifically my Instagram account, because all of a sudden, over the last week, it's been allowed to grow again, and people are actually seeing my content.
That's it.
That is why it must be related.
Censorship, and they all of a sudden realize, oh no, we can't bring this back to our playground. We could be in trouble.
Wow.
And we did this for America. We did this for everyone. We didn't just do this for ourselves, but they plundered us, and it's all in the case. Yeah. Just look at the case. But yeah, that day, everything changed. When that judge said no, I saw like immediately a huge difference. They are shaking in their
This is amazing. Charlene, you have just encouraged me so much. This is the bright spot of my day. That's real progress. We'll keep following this because here's where they have always won. They go judge shopping. They get to keep it in a friendly court that they know is going to rule that way. It's happened with everything from election fraud to the attacks on President Trump, right? And the censorship. They went judge shopping. And it sounds like we're going to finally get our day in court in perhaps a fair and just courtroom with the actual rule of law. And we know which side wins on that in that case.
Right. Well, the proof is all on our side. We've got the momentum. And our judge, you talk about Dems versus Republicans and what they believe and are they corrupt, and all Dems are corrupt and Republicans aren't. Well, we know that's not the case. Our judge is a Clinton-appointed judge. And she is a fair judge. She is a just judge. And we are going to get a fair case here. And it's all rolling in our direction. And so that we can't base what we think on the D or the R. Look at the actions. Yep. This judge, I have so much respect for making this decision because it was the right one. These social media companies broke the law. They hurt a lot of people. And because of the censorship, if our films were out there and our content, people would have known the truth and they would not have opted into these shots that have killed. And like your former guest said, and I've been saying all along, 30,000+ people dead based on the VAERS reporting system is not even a fraction of the actual number. We know that millions of people have died and are dying from the clots, the huge clots in the body that they have caused, myocarditis, heart problems, hormone problems, reproductive problems, and terminal cancers. And there's so much more than just that. This has got to stop. And we are moving now in the right direction.
This is wonderful news. Thank you so much, Charlene. Thank you for sharing that on my show. And I think I'm already seeing the effect of this win because I did not know what was going on. I've been shocked. Charlene, thank you so much. Keep us posted on this. We'll continue to share the news of your lawsuit because it's obviously one with implications for everyone here in America because it's a true free speech case. Charlene Bollinger, thank you so much.
Thank you.
In a welcome, albeit rare instance of CIA Director John Ratcliffe finding his backbone, his agency is apparently readying to release the names of very senior officials who were involved in the creation and perpetuation of the Russia collusion delusion that did so much damage to President Donald Trump's first term in office. And this news apparently has leading promoter of the Russia collusion delusion and, let's say, election fraud as well, attorney Mark Elias, breaking down publicly into Biden-like babbling fits. It's got him so scared. Just watch.
I worry that what they are going to do is further politicize the Department of Justice to suggest that there is some there when there is absolutely not. There is zeros there. There's zero there here. There's zero there anywhere.
Our friend Ed Martin, who is now serving as the pardon attorney and weaponization czar for President Donald Trump's Department of Justice, tweeted this out saying, quote, "Let's hope so." Eagle Egg Martin said FBI Director Cash assigned, this was actually tweeted by Ty Clevenger. He's the attorney trying to get the Seth Rich laptop. Eagle Egg Martin said FBI Director Cash assigned some agents to look into the murder of Seth Rich, which is big. If true, but then can't they just now comply with the court order and give Ty Clevenger the laptop and the materials that he's requested from the FBI? The judge has already said to do so. Seems that finally things might be moving in the direction that all of us wanted things to be moving toward for about a decade. But it is better late than never, right? And President Trump seems galvanized about this topic in ways that he never was before. Meanwhile, the Ukraine war grounds on. Here's President Donald Trump speaking about his disappointment with Vladimir Putin while overseas today. Listen.
I would have said 5 times we would have had a deal. I've spoken to President Putin a lot. I got along with him very well. But 5 times, and every time 4 times maybe. But we've had discussions. You and I have had discussions. Yeah. We thought we had that settled numerous times. And then President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kiev and kills a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever. You have bodies lying all over the street. And I say that's not the way to do it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen.
But it could be that Trump is merely playing rope-a-dope with the press, that possibly he and Putin have an understanding. Our friend and associate producer Brandon Weicker offered his analysis on the matter, saying this. And toward the end of these images that are coming out about Ukraine, showing thousands of Ukrainians rallying in the streets to protest President Zelensky's recent decision to disband all anti-corruption offices in Ukraine, a giant sucky sound you're likely hearing is Zelensky and his corrupt minister stealing whatever wealth remains in Ukraine while they prepare to flee the country. This is end of regime type stuff on display, okay? So we might actually be witnessing the end of the war within the next 50 days or so. And finally, to put a button on it, President Trump is taking another victory lap. He just signed a monumental trade deal with the European Union that basically flips the entire relationship on its head, making the EU more dependent on the U.S. for trade than at any other time. Now, this is a huge win for American producers and shows just how successful the Trump administration can be, specifically with trade policies, and despite what all the experts claim. So contrary to what many doomers said, the Trump administration is having some major wins. Russiagate will be gotten to the bottom of, we hope, and it is likely that major names will at least be revealed to the public, but let's be honest, we want them to be taken down by the Trump DOJ. Join us now from Washington, D.C., just to give us a preview of what's coming up in the next hour and put a button on what Trump is doing overseas as our very own Allison Steinberg, the lovely Allison. I'll just keep you for a minute because I know you're headed into D.C. Live, where you're going to probably expound on all of these issues I just laid out. Right, Allison? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Emerald. Thank you. Yes, we're actually going to be doing a very exciting Man on the Street today, where we're going to be going out, talking to the people on the ground here and getting them to weigh in, see what they think about the tariffs. As you just touched on, this latest trade deal with the EU is absolutely huge for America, despite what all of the Democrats said, that this was going to spin the country into a recession. Everything was all done. We might as well just give it all in now because there's not going to be a country after Liberation Day, right? But that couldn't be further from the truth. We've seen much success come out of this, the latest deal being this EU trade deal, which is absolutely huge. Before now, the U.S. Had been getting 2% from the EU. Initially, Trump was trying to negotiate 30% tariffs for them. Ultimately, they landed at 15%. So this is actually amazing. And then not to mention hundreds of billions being invested into America by the EU. So this is a huge deal. It's very exciting. I know President Trump is thrilled about this. And I can't wait to see what the people out here think, get them to weigh in and see if they even know. Half the time when I ask people about tariffs, they're totally clueless. So they should be happy. And I'm going to remind them of that.
Well, also, the mainstream media doesn't report when it's a win. They're only knock tariffs when, warning they're not going to work. Are you, real quick, in just 30 seconds, are you also going to find out about how they feel about Russiagate? Are people really paying attention to these document dumps and how they're feeling about them?
Absolutely. I sure hope so. This has got to be the biggest story to date. Obviously, this is huge. The former Obama regime is completely implicated now. It sounds like probably going to be indicted. So, yeah, we're going to go out, get the people to weigh in and see if they even know about this. If not, we will inform them and tell them to tune into LindellTV for all of the latest news and updates.
And that's right. And stay tuned right here on LindellTV as Allison goes out and gets the public opinion on all these major issues we're reporting right here on LindellTV. Thank you so much, Allison. We'll see you in just a moment.
Thanks so much, Emerald.
And that's it for me for this hour of The Absolute Truth. Catch me back here at 8 p.m. And as promised, Allison Steinberg was up next after this commercial break with Live from D.C. And that's The Absolute Truth.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well now.